And Andre turned prophetic. And I think as we went, I think Bob and I both kind of shifted our opinion. Like we kept getting better. And it's like, oh, wait a second, maybe we do have a chance. But I think that's what made this one so sweet was it in a lot of ways, it was unexpected. You know, I know there's been a lot of internal talk this last year about, hey, next year, you know, when our young guys have a year under our belt and, you know, we get Clay for a full season, like next year is our year. So to, you know, make this run and to pull it off this year was kind of unexpected, but all the more sweet. During the Denver series, maybe even before game one, it was really a crucial part of the journey. And Andre was just a really big part of all this with his guidance and leadership and wisdom. And that was thought that was a big moment for the team.
Steve, the hardest thing to do in sports is win and grow for the future at the same time. How well do you think you did that? And how much is whatever Kuminga and Moses and even James, even though he couldn't play, whatever they experienced, how important is that to what happens next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is difficult to do. It was ambitious, you know, from the start, because really we started doing this last year, you know, when we drafted James and we didn't make any moves. And you know, we talked about, I think I used the term threading the needle, and that's what it felt like. And then, of course, last summer, there was a lot of clamor for Joe and Bob and the group to, you know, trade for a veteran to, you know, give us a better chance at a title. And you know, for us to win it and hang on to our young players, it couldn't have worked out any better. You know, doesn't guarantee anything for the future, but it's just a great position to be in, where you've got some really talented guys like Jordan and James, JK, Moses, who represent the future, but they're still learning from these championship players in their own locker room. So it's all set up well, but there's you know, now we got to go do it. So it's exciting.
What do they take away tangibly from this
experience? I think the playoffs are really unique. You know, you often see players from around the league young players coming to a finals game with their head coach. You know, sometimes they'll pan to the sidelines during the finals and you'll see a young star with his coach, and, you know, they're trying to absorb the atmosphere. So it's that times 10, because you're in all the meetings, you're sitting there, sometimes you're getting in the game, like, you know, all of that for a 2-month journey. And that's what makes winning an NBA championship so hard. It's 2 months of you know, prepping for 4 different teams, and the stress of, you know, not only the games, but then, you know, waiting for the next game to start and the anticipation. And so for our young players to feel all that and to see how our older players navigated that, it's huge experience for them, and it will come in handy. And then the playing time. I mean, you know, Moses played significant minutes, you know, against Dallas. JK played significant minutes against Memphis. So it all matters.
Steve,
hi, Jane.
Hi. Back to Andre's kind of challenge to improve each round. What were the factors in that coming together? And also, maybe how much do you appreciate the flexibility that everybody showed as rotations changed from Porter to Looney to Porter, and just Poole's varying roles and everything?
Yeah, so the first part of it, I mean, you could see the improvement both individually and collectively. Wiggs stands out for his both his on-ball defense and his rebounding, and so that's exactly what Andre was talking about. You know, you kind of have to figure out what's it going to take for us to win this series, and Wiggs was a perfect example. You know, we need you to guard Ja Morant, Luka, Jason Tatum, you know, but we need you to rebound too. I mean, and he did all that, you know, and for Gary to come back from his injury and play such a big role in the finals with his defense, and for Loon to take another step forward. I mean, that's what it takes to win a championship. Obviously, you know, you need your stars to play like stars, and we got that. we stayed healthy and we got better as we went along. So very gratifying as a coach. And then the other part of it, the flexibility, guys going in and out of the lineup and the roster or the rotation. Again, that kind of selflessness is critical on this path, and is one of the most gratifying aspects of this championship was just how selfless everybody was, and everybody was all in, and you could kind of feel the magic starting to happen as we went further, and we were able to complete the deal.
How important do you view this summer for James Wiseman, and because of his inexperience at this point, how vital do you think it is to bring Kevon Looney back?
Yeah, it's a big summer for James, and good news is he's doing really well. I was just talking to Rick, and James has come along well, and we're anticipating that he'll be part of Summer League, and excited for that. Loon, what more do we need to say about Loon? I mean, he's the championship center, modern day defender, switch defender, which is what it takes in the playoffs. As the 30th pick in the draft 7 years ago, the way he's developed, the way he's worked, the way he has become such a big part of our internal leadership and our fabric. He's a huge component to our success. So we all want him back. We also are, rooting for him personally to get a really good contract. So hopefully it's from us.
Bob talked about what it meant to get Kenny back on the staff. What does he bring to your staff that is sort of unique and different from what you've had in the past?
I think the biggest dynamic that Kenny brought that's different from our past staffs is he became my liaison between our analytics department and the coaching staff. He's very analytically driven. And I think the trick with analytics is how do you apply it to the court, and you have to sort of figure out how to process information and how it can translate to winning basketball games. And it's not an easy thing to do. There's so many numbers, and Kenny is one of the rare coaches who really has a great feel for the numbers and how those numbers translate. He's also a fantastic developmental coach. He worked closely with Jonathan all year long. He's so energetic. He's constantly bringing the vibe and practice up. There's just a great energy and joy about him. So we're thrilled to have him back.
This is following up on the latter half of Slater's question. You said, and Andrew has said, a lot of people have said, we're only going to get better next year, right? But how much does that kind of depend on retaining as many of your free agents and bringing as many players back as possible and building off of this?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it, but you can never predict how this stuff's going to play out. So all we can do is plan for next season and, get going again in September, late September. But we definitely want those guys back. Got a lot of key free agents, and they were all really big part of this championship. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Just going back to Andre really quick. We don't really know what his plans are, if he wants to come back for one more season or what. I know he has a lot of off the court stuff that like business endeavors that he has, but has he expressed, throughout the playoffs any interest in wanting to be a coach, or what kind of future do you think you see in him pursuing that path?
I think he's way too smart to sit next to me and come to all our coaches meetings and do this. Now, he was a coach this year in the locker room for our guys. I would love to have him back on the roster if it works out. I know Bob feels the same way, and things have to fall into place. Andre and I have talked, and we're going to connect here in the next couple of weeks as he, kind of sorts through his decision. It's never an easy thing to retire and walk away from a game that you love, from people that you love. So it's a really big decision for him. And as I said, if he decides to come back, we'd be thrilled, because he means so much to us in so many different ways.
With it sounding like James will probably play in Summer League at some point, obviously health is the main priority, but what skill set are you kind of looking for the most from him, whether it be rebounding or something else?
Yeah, I mean, I think defensive recognition of patterns and rebounding, that's what we can use from him the most, going forward, with his talent, with his size and athleticism, there's no reason why he can't be a dominant defensive player in the league, but it takes a lot of reps. It takes a lot of recognition. Takes a lot of being on the court with 9 other people, not just being in a one-on-one workout or in the weight room. So hopefully, knock on wood, hopefully, he gets healthy and gets to start putting those reps together and develops into a fine defensive center. That would be the idea. And you see how gifted he is offensively. He's a lob threat. He's a good shooter. So it's all there for him, but he needs a break. He needs some things to go his way health-wise. And like I said, so far so good, and we're hoping that things continue to improve.
And obviously different skill sets, different bodies, but how can Kevon be kind of a little bit of an example for him with the intangibles, the little things, running the offense through the post with him?
Well, James spent a good part of this year watching Loon, watching tape of him, asking questions of him. They're very different players, as you said, but playing the same position. What makes Loon so good is the nuance in his game. He understands how to set the right screen at the right time for Steph and Clay, and he knows when to roll, and he knows when to dive to the rim, when to get to the pocket to, if Steph is getting blitzed, he knows how to make the weak side pass out of the double team. And this stuff doesn't just happen. He's worked at it. And Loon's first 2 years, he never played. He was injured too, just like James has been. So there couldn't be a better mentor for James than Loon.
Steve, Gary came out of college with the ability to defend immediately, but it took him 5-6 years to get to a point where he was in a rotation. And when he got to rotation, he was in rotation on a championship team. How much of what he's gone through is a process of him getting better, and how much of it is the league changing to accommodate someone who has his skills and put him in his position?
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, he's really worked hard on his three-point shot. You saw him this year make big shots for us in the playoffs and throughout the regular season. So that's a lot of work. The league has changed, so you got a lot more smaller lineups, more space lineups. Our roster changed this year, which helped him get on the floor. Just adding Otto and Belly and having more spacing with our bigs meant that we could play Gary, at guard, but basically play him as a big man on offense, as a great screener, diver. You see he has a knack for scoring in transition, off offensive rebounds. So he's a unique player, a different kind of player, but he's really found his niche, and it's great to see he's earned it.
Steve, with your style of play with, emphasis on defense and moving the ball, you got to be pretty savvy to play with you. But with that said, you're probably about to add another youngster. You might have like 5 guys under 20. How have you grown, I guess, as a coach dealing with, the guys who need developing and youngsters and, you play 19-year-olds in playoff series. I don't know if you'd have done that at 15, but how have you grown dealing with such young players?
Well, I think we've grown organizationally. That's the main thing. Our Santa Cruz affiliate is so strong, and the connection is so strong between the coaching staffs and the roster. And now compared to 6-7 years ago, it's completely different. We've got such a strong connection. We're monitoring development every single day. We're running the exact same offense, the same terminology, and that really matters. So when we send a guy to Santa Cruz and he comes back, he's got a head start. We didn't have that 7-8 years ago. We also have more development coaches and more people in our training room. And so each young guy is getting more and more individual attention. And so that matters. As far as how I look at it as a coach, me, I've always liked to play everybody on the roster. I just think empowering everyone is important. And then, you can't go too far. You've got to, players have to earn it. But everybody on our roster knows that at some point during the season, I'm going to give them a chance. And even if they're, rookies and 19-year-olds. And so I think that is empowering. And it's great to have a veteran roster with mentors. I mean, Steph and Draymond and Clay, Andre, Loon, these guys are so good with our younger guys. So, the expression, it takes a village, it really does. And I think we've built a really strong organization that has figured out, a much better way to develop our young guys.
Kind of piggybacking on Marcus's question, when it comes to adding youngsters, to this team through the draft, is philosophy still to find the best players available that fit the culture here?
That's Bob's department. So, I trust Bob and his staff and when you're picking 28th or 30th, there's such a low chance of hitting. And the reality is, our guys upstairs have hit for a really high average. You just look at the finals. I mean, drafting Jordan and Loon. If you look at the numbers, I think guys at 28 and 30, there's about a 10% chance that they make the league for an extended period of time. So between those two guys and going back, Draymond at 35 and, Festus, before he got injured, it was a really valuable player for us. So our group has done an amazing job, late in the first round into the second round. So I'm glad it's not my job. I just coach whoever they put out there, but they've done a great job putting our rosters together.
How do you view your own kind of, coaching future, and how invigorated are you to just kind of, keep coaching? Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. It was such a gratifying year coaching wise. There's so many great individual stories. Seeing Jordan develop, seeing Loon take a leap, seeing Andrew, get to where he wanted to go. And it was such a great collaboration between our entire organization. So, and I could go on, the veterans who came in, Belly and Otto, for them to experience something so powerful and meaningful later on in their careers. All that stuff is what makes you want to come coach every day. And so now here we are, we got the windows open and we got all these young guys who are really talented. And I think we can be really good again. And I'm excited for a vacation, and I'm excited to come back and coach again next year.
Coach, Draymond said at some point during the finals that he wanted to win this championship for the rookies, the young players, to allow them to play more free and, rather than some players who spend their entire career chasing a ring. Do you think that does relieve some pressure from the young players on this team, or does it change maybe the mindset or the way that you play after you won a championship?
I think that's one of the most powerful things about winning a title is the freedom that comes with it. I'm able to coach more freely because we, won a championship in 15. There's a feeling that comes with it where like you're just not encumbered. You can be more free, and that goes as a player too. When Steph and Draymond and Clay and Andre won that first one in 15, it's incredibly liberating. And sometimes, especially if you're a great player, I don't think role players feel it, but the great players in this league, especially today, they get tagged with he's never won a championship, image or whatever you want to call it. And even though that's unfair, it's a real thing. So for our young guys to be champions, to have championship rings, it does relieve some pressure from them.
One quick follow-up for you on a different topic. You were asked at the parade how many more championships you might win with this team, and responded something along the lines of, how much longer is Steph going to be playing here? Myers mentioned that he thinks the argument could be made that Steph is playing the best basketball of his career. Realistically, in your mind, how much do you think he has left in the tank? And would you say he is, really peaking still now at 34?
I think he absolutely peaked in the playoffs. I think it's going to be harder for him, next year at 35 and, the following year to put together an 82 game season like he did, 7 years ago. But in the playoffs, when you've got time off in between games and you're really locked in, this was the best I've ever seen him in terms of his two-way performance. His defense was spectacular. And he's gotten so much stronger. His ability to hold people up who are coming at him. I saw the isolation defense numbers. I think it was like 0.79 for Steph in the finals. That's pretty incredible with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum coming downhill at you over and over again. So Steph's never been better defensively. And, like I said, in the playoffs, when you get time to rest, at 30, 34, 35, 36, there's no reason why he can't continue to have playoff runs like this. But, it's all out there for him, and we know he's going to work for it. So it's fun to just be a part of it.
All right, couple on Zoom real quick. James Hill, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, congratulations on your latest World Championship. Dynasties, can you talk a little bit about dynasties? You have one at Golden State. In 75 years, there's only a handful of them, and you've been a part of, I'm going to say 3, but we're talking about Golden State. Can you talk about your dynasty? And again, it's a tremendous upside.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you quantify dynasty, but whatever that means, to win 4 championships in 8 years, pretty special. And having been a part of the Spurs and the Bulls as a player, it takes obviously superstar players, but also really strong, well-run organizations. And we have that here. We've got an ownership group that is committed to winning. They have been since day one. We've got players who are motivated to stay together and stay here and keep, trying to win together. And we've got great leadership and management from upstairs. So it's a pleasure to be part of it. And I count my blessings. Trust me, I've lived a charmed NBA existence to be part of 3 different organizations like I have that have been so successful.
All right, 2 more quick ones. Maria, go ahead.
Hi, Steve. Congratulations. Hope you're well and well recovered as well from the parade. If you have to look at this championship roster, what do you think is the DNA that this court has built? What makes this ride so special?
Well, they're very unique individually, and they fit together collectively. Basketball it really is a team is like a puzzle. The pieces have to fit, and you can't just throw 5 great players out there and expect it to work. You've got to have guys with different skill sets who complement one another, and I think that's the real magic behind this team. It's Steph, Draymond, and Clay all make each other better, and that's the core group that started all this and that continues to do this. And obviously, we've had a lot of really great, important players as part of that. Andre has been a huge part of it, and so many others. But I think the core group, that championship DNA, has everything to do with the continuity of those guys being together and the skill sets really complementing one another.
Great. Final one for Christos. Go ahead.
Coach, speaking about next season, what gives you confidence that the Warriors are going to be even better as a team, and how a healthy James Wiseman can raise the level of the team overall?
Yeah, I mean, I think my experience is when you win a championship, you get better the next year. If you keep going after that, it starts to wear you out. That third year for us, trying to get a three-peat in 19 was brutally difficult. But, whether I was a player or now as a coach,
you win that first one, there's a freedom that comes with it. There's an excitement, and that carries over into the second year. And given that we just had a 2-year opportunity to refill our cups and re-energize, I think we'll be really motivated going into next year, and the guys will have a great chance to have a hell of a season again. James, hopefully will fit into that. Health-wise, that's the biggest thing. We will continue to work with him every day. He'll continue to develop, just like all of our young guys will. And it's fun to look at some of the young talent on the roster. But there's, every year is different, and you just have to let it play out and see how it goes. Thanks, Christos.